So this is Massive, the world's largest cruiserweight, and you're watching and listening to Countdown City WrestleCast. I'm out.
What's up, heels and baby faces? Welcome to another episode of the Countdown City WrestleCast. We're all thawed out and warmed up and ready to go for our normal show. I'm your host, JC, joined this week by Tommy.
Hello.
And of course, we got Mike.
Mike, I love wrestling and love always wins. Boom.
Yes, Mike, I think we found the catchphrase for you. That's perfect. Yep. It's perfect. Definitely perfect. Thanks everyone for joining us. You can always chat along with the discussion on our Twitter account at @CCG_WrestleCast. And of course, subscribe to the Countdown City Geeks YouTube channel that you're watching. Thank you everybody that did join us for our live show. We're going to be trying to do those a little bit more often, of course, with the pandemic and everything. Closer to WrestleMania for sure, we're going to have one. And I don't know. We'll see. We'll just see how these things happen. I think live shows are always fun because you guys can interact with us in real time, and especially on our YouTube channel as well. So today we are going to be recapping the WWE Elimination Chamber, a show that I personally was pretty excited for, and on some level it did disappoint, and on so many others it definitely achieved. So I left feeling pretty good about myself. We'll talk about that, and we're going to talk about our first foray into the bracket world, if you will. I'll mention it really briefly, and stay tuned for that as well. Let's start with the Chamber, guys. I mentioned at the top, I was actually pretty excited about this show. Just from the card, the way it was set up, I had a good feeling going in. And even into the kickoff show, the panel was saying, why hasn't Miz cashed in? Like, how much longer is he going to hold on to it? And that really kind of got my head turning like, okay, maybe it's going to happen tonight.
Yep. WWE is not good at subtlety. So.
No, they were. Before the show started, though, we got word that Keith Lee was removed from the U.S. Triple Threat due to injury reasons. Injury is probably the kayfabe reason. I think the shoe reason might be related to his now fiance's COVID diagnosis. So it might be a little bit of contract tracing, but I don't know.
I don't know, and I only say that because she was back on Raw the next night. So I think he may have some sort of legitimate injury that prevented him, because unless
he hasn't tested negative.
Unless he got it, right. Unless he got it and she's better, but now I don't know. But I think it may be more legit injury. So
okay. So they did have a 4-way match. It was Morrison, Elias. Help me out here, guys. It seems like someone. Ricochet and Ali. Morrison it was just a fatal 4-way. Morrison went in the pre-show. He gets added to the U.S. title match, which sometimes when that happens, like crazy shit happens, you know. So, but the show itself went off pretty good, as we predicted. The Universal Championship contender match, the Elimination Chamber match, opened the show, and the two big faces, Cesaro and Daniel Bryan, started it off.
They lasted a long time, though.
They did.
Yeah, they did.
They were there because like they made it to the final 3. Cesaro didn't he? Wasn't he like second? Yeah.
It was him, Jay, and Daniel Bryan.
Yep.
And I called what Roman was going to do with the wrong winner, but I kind of figured this is what he was going to pull.
Yeah, it was kind of a hybrid of what you and I just predicted, Mike. I thought that Daniel Bryan would win, and he did, and Cesaro would be taken out on some bullshit, and it was, but it wasn't Corbin, it was Jey Uso. Yeah. Kind of sneaking in the super kick, and then Daniel Bryan gets the win, and then, as Mike predicted, Roman just cashing in the title shot right after, if you will. So, as chamber matches go, this one was really good. I definitely enjoyed. I think one of my favorite moments was Sami Zayn trying to keep the door shut against Corbin. Meanwhile, Cesaro opens the back door.
Man,
there's 2 doors on these pods now.
when I tell you, I burst out laughing when he said where'd you come from or something like that. Man, I was through. When he turned around and said, where'd you come?
Mike, Mike, how do you feel about Cesaro's performance in this match?
So obviously, in the moment, I was really upset because I literally texted in the group chat a curse word, and I don't curse very often. So
True.
you know it was
Not
bad.
out loud, but you type them a lot.
No, I don't. But once things played out, I understood it for a couple of reasons. My thought was, I said Cesaro could win it. He would Reigns would come out. Cesaro would put up a good fight, and then fall short. But it was more like he came out. Brian got that one. WWE likes to do this where you hit that move out of nowhere. There's a chance. No, just kidding. You got destroyed. And so he pretty much got squashed after that. Daniel Bryan looks a lot better as the sympathetic babyface after fighting hard than I think Cesaro would have, because Cesaro's a bigger guy and a little more legitimate, strength-wise, just a bigger guy that can put up with more, you would think. So I get it in that situation, the way it played out. And then with what happens afterwards, this is my only thing. And even though I predicted it, I almost feel like the SmackDown Chamber was pointless after what finally happens, and you just get to the main event of WrestleMania. You finally got that match set. So it was a great match. It was fun. Yeah, I got upset when they took out Cesaro. He had a great showing again. They're talking him up as the announcers. But then Daniel Bryan kind of gets squashed. It sets up to, what happens afterwards. And I kind of feel like it's one of those things, like it was a great match, but did it really mean anything in the end? That's kind of the only problem I had with it.
You say that, and Tina, as we were watching this, and you say that like the match itself was pointless given what happened. And that begs the question, why didn't they book a women's chamber match on this show? I mean, especially with and I'm not saying they could have spent a week to do it. Obviously, Asuka, who has barely defended her Raw title since she won it on pay-per-view.
Yeah, those are a whole lot of different things we can get into.
Yeah,
with the women's booking in WWE right now in general.
But it does beg the question, like, why weren't the women given a chamber match on this show?
Yeah, I agree.
That too. I was that seemed really odd, considering like they made it a point to do it before. It's like, to me, it's like, I get you're setting up for Bianca and to WrestleMania and all that, and that's good, but you still got other champions. There's other people that have stuff going on.
And then on going on that, like, yes, Bianca is a big thing, and it's clear she's going to SmackDown. And again, we've said this for like 3 weeks now. They've done crap with Asuka. Like, like you kind of said earlier. Yeah, so Lacey found out she's pregnant. She obviously got pulled out of the match. You're telling me there's not one other Raw woman that could have just had a match? Sure, let Asuka beat her. Have a decent match. You're gonna bring Rhea Ripley. They announced that on Raw that she's coming to Raw soon. What about introduce her, beat Asuka, and just start a hot streak going into WrestleMania for her? There are so many things you could have done. You did the 4-way for the men's U.S. title just to get another third person into a match that was already happening. Mm-hmm. You're telling me you couldn't done something for the women's title or even a women's chamber? I mean, obviously you don't want to have 3 chambers, but again, I kind of go back to the SmackDown one. As good as Cesaro looks, and as cool as it was for Daniel Bryan, and the way they had to take out KO, like there were some good things. At the end of this line, it felt like a pointless match given what happened. So, I'm really critical of the WWE booking around some of this stuff. The people in the matches again were great, but I'm not high on this overall just because of the way certain things were booked or ignored, really. So
yeah,
it makes me wonder, because even the women's tag team match, they had some big stars in there. Obviously, you had Sasha and Bianca teaming, but they lose, and it seems like all they're really worried about at this point is getting it to Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez in a couple weeks. Which honestly, is fine if as long as Kai and Gonzalez go over.
That's what I mean.
Make it look like
if that's what it is, then I'm okay with that. But If it's not, then it's even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You feel like, okay, Kai and Gonzalez really have to go over there. One, to give the Dusty Rhodes Classic a bit more prestige. Because if they don't if you don't take advantage of the fact that they got the title shot, then it's just a tournament to have a tournament.
Yeah.
And to my knowledge, I don't think any NXT women's tag team has won the tag team title since their inception.
No, they've had a few matches, right? I think Bayley and Sasha went down there once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there was another. Was there another team that went down there? They hardly ever touched it.
I think Asuka and Kairi Sane went down there once too.
Yeah, but the point is like the idea is that these championships are supposed to be defended on all brands.
I agree.
Yeah, like right now, let's face it, like Nia and Shayna aren't exactly the best team. You know, they still have the kind of where they're kind of ruffling feathers, like they're walking through the door together on a Ding Dong Hello, for crying out loud. And you know, it's like, okay, let's get like a legitimate tag team a chance to hold those titles, especially going into WrestleMania season.
That's another thing. No Bayley on the show.
No Bayley on the show. You telling me you couldn't find another opponent to challenge Asuka? Like
right,
you could have
said earlier, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
I get, to me, it's like I get that this is a smaller show, so it's not going to be as long, especially with the lack of an audience. Everything, I get that, but at the same time, I guess that was my biggest problem with the show. The women's tag title match did not make sense to me. Like, as far as it being on this show, that could have just been a SmackDown thing. Because also, in this actually, honestly, not the match itself, but the booking around this match is actually why I'm giving this show a lower score than I was originally going to.
I didn't want to say it yet, but me too.
Yeah, it's absolutely this match factoring into it. But it's like they could have had this on SmackDown, and I don't get what the point of all this Reginald stuff is this close to WrestleMania. Yeah. That's really weird to me. I mean, maybe it'll make sense. I will give credit where credit is due. There have been times WWE has done some really weird booking stuff, and it's made sense later. I will give them credit for that. It's rare. It's rare. It's rare.
Not to interrupt you, but I'm 100% convinced they back up into those without any. Like, they just luck into those, but go ahead.
You're probably not right. You're not wrong. Anyway, but no, it's just, I don't get a lot of this weird booking. It's like, but you know what? I will say this. You can get weird booking going into WrestleMania and still get a fantastic WrestleMania out of it. We've seen it before. So that's not really the issue. It's just like, you know, man, I guess to me it's the same thing with Asuka. Like, I feel like with Shinsuke or Cesaro, maybe they're working where they can, but it's still like, you know, either way, when they get out of this, they can just be like Dave Chappelle, I'm rich, bitch, so who cares? So
yeah, I mean, they're happy. Cesaro's doing a lot of stuff with up, down, down, like, or he's part of, I guess, left, right,
and that's
now.
another thing. They're like, you know, I think that's another thing that, like, I tend to forget, like, the backstage relationships. Like, a lot of these guys probably are like, you know, that's one reason they stick around is because, you know, they made really good friends. Like, I remember when you said up, down, down. I remember when the finale of Game of Thrones was on.
Oh my god!
And it was Xavier Woods, was Cesaro, Seth, was Kofi in there too?
Maybe, and some of them, yeah.
And like all of them were just like glued to the screen. I was like, and that's probably a big part of it. Is like, you know, maybe the booking sucks, but their friends are there, so that makes the booking a little more bearable. And again, they're still getting paid, so there's nothing wrong there.
And those guys are probably pretty high on the pay, considering. So
yeah. But the thing with Asuka is, okay, great, but you made her champion. What was the point of that? If she just wants to get a payday, good for. Okay, if she just wants to get a payday, good for her. But I mean, for love of God, look up Kana matches on YouTube. There are tons of matches where she kills it, you know. And there are NXT matches where she kills it. There are 1 or 2 or 3 WWE matches where she kills it. But
can I be honest?
Yeah.
This is where I'm at. Next Monday, I literally just want Asuka to show up, go up to Charlotte Flair and go, look, they care about you more. Here's the women's title. Let me, like, at this point, like, why not? Because I don't want to be these people on the internet that are criticizing Charlotte Flair and making it personal. Because I don't know her. We talked about this a lot when we discussed these things. It's the way she gets booked. But even last night on Raw, the whole so obviously Lacey's out, so they had to try and bring her and her dad back together again. And I know he's Ric Flair, but I'm sorry, I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion or not. I don't think he needs to be on air anymore.
It's much the same way your opinion about Hulk Hogan. We don't need him on TV.
And I even like Flair more than Hogan overall, but he looks his age. He has the little sparks of those old Flair in him, but he stutters a lot. He can't quite, and he doesn't look good. And honestly, I feel a little bit like he's not tarnishing his legacy, but man, you guys remember Flair in the '90s, Flair at WCW at his prime. Yeah. He was a legit top guy that if WCW was on the level of WWE as far as fans, he's Hogan level as a heel.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
To be fair, I think Flair tarnished his legacy when he went and wrestled in TNA after what was supposed to be his retirement after the Mike
thing. I can see that too.
And now it's just I don't mind seeing him on TV, but if it's a little more like when legends make appearances, maybe if he's supporting Charlotte on a very high profile match. But right now it's more like you look like you're just kind of fishing for a payday here. You don't need to be involved in storylines, something like that.
I really didn't get the point of the whole Charlotte Lacey Flair feud anyway. You don't need Ric Flair to have those two feud with each other. Okay, so here's my thing with Vince's booking of Charlotte. If he would book her as good as she is on her own, that would be fine.
Yeah.
And without the multiple title reigns, I think we pointed that out last time about the multiple title reigns. If she just she's a Flair. Literally everyone knows that.
Right.
Don't have to keep bringing it up.
Everything about her.
Show up all the time.
Her music, her robes, her strutting. She never lets you not know she's a Flair.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna quickly put on my Japan hat for just a second. Give me a minute. I'm going somewhere with this.
Hi.
Okay. Shinya Hashimoto. He passed away some years ago. He's a legendary wrestler in Japan, but his son, Daichi, is a wrestler as well. He's not in any big company right now. He's not in New Japan. He's not in Noah. He's building his own name up by himself, and I think he's in Big Japan right now. Mm-hmm. And he does some of his dad's moves, but he doesn't use his name to automatically get into places. He's starting at base level. Now, don't get me wrong, he's good. He could go to those other places, but I think he's trying to get there on his own. And whenever he decides to make the jump to the bigger companies, yes, the deal is gonna be he's Shinya Hashimoto's son, blah blah blah. I mean, and there's nothing wrong with that, but he's already gonna have all of his own merit behind him to push his own talent. And how that ties into Charlotte. In no way am I saying Charlotte is not talented. Quite the opposite, in fact. She's fantastic.
Right.
The problem is WWE doesn't just let that stand on its own. She always has to be reminded that she's Charlotte Flair. And I don't mind the robes. I don't mind the music. I don't mind that. I mean just constantly having Rick show up at random. Yeah. Ric Flair can't do another 24 special or just sit down for an interview and make that money that way. He has to be on the. I mean, you can't find something else for Ric Flair to do to get a check. Come on, Vince. You really? Come on. There's literally, come on, Vince. And I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all.
I think we're all in agreement with this, yeah.
Yeah.
Vince somehow made the 24/7 belt work. Now, granted, that was R-Truth putting in work.
Oh, yeah,
but he let him keep going with it. And so he made money off that. He made money off that stupid title. And let's admit it, the title is stupid. But my God, is it fun.
Yeah, it's stupid in a way that's supposed to be enjoyable. Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's much in the same way how the hardcore title became a joke when they put the 24/7 rule on it, and Crash Holly made it everything.
Crash Holly worked overtime to make that work, and it was great.
In regards to the women's right now, the booking has regressed a bit, and that needs to change.
It has.
It definitely needs to change going forward, because other than that, everything's just going to pass you by. Even NXT is already passing you by. So
NXT is by far past the main roster when it comes to women.
So
as far as the booking of it, yeah.
So I remember reading something who has the best women's division right now, and I said Impact, someone else said NXT, and I was like, you know what, that's a legit argument, and that's one that's hard to really argue. It's you know, if you say Impact's the best, you have a solid argument. If you say NXT is the best, again, solid argument. Because honestly, they both rosters put on a lot. Because I mean, Raquel Gonzalez and Rhea Ripley before Rhea left to go to the main roster, they ripped it up, and I didn't know Raquel Gonzalez could go like that until that match. So
you just said it right there, Rhea Ripley. Why tease her coming in? Just have her show up to an open challenge on Chamber and take the title from Asuka. You could have done something like that.
That could have been.
My thing is, like, there have been so many cases in pro wrestling where a scheduled match couldn't happen and they replaced it on the day. Yeah. And you've had people build their career off of that.
What was the not build a career, but what was it was supposed to be Finn and not the Fiend, but Sister Abigail. It was supposed to be the Demon versus Sister Abigail.
Yeah.
Bray was hurt or got sick
he
or
got
something.
Sick. I think he had
so it wound up being the flu or Finn versus AJ, right?
Yeah, they called AJ in for across the country, and he showed up to do the match.
And then it turned into like a battle of the Bullet Club leaders. Like the match, even the match New Japan couldn't get. So
it was arguably WWE's best match that year.
Yeah.
And there's really no excuses. They're all kind of in the same area. Everyone's around that area in Tampa where this is happening. Right. So
it also speaks to the fact that if you think Asuka can't put together a competent match with literally anyone,
seriously,
that's the problem. Like okay, language barrier aside, Asuka has still always been a ring general. Like, I've seen her matches. She can make it work. You know, even if she's gonna lose the match, she can make. Because to me, she's like Christopher Daniels and Chris Jericho that way. I don't care who their opponent is. If you let them call the shots in the ring, they will make you look like $1,000,000. I have never seen a Christopher Daniels match where he couldn't make someone look like the most competent wrestler ever. So
you know, something just popped in my head real quick, and I know we've gotten way off Elimination Chamber. I'm going to bring it back a little bit, actually.
Okay.
In the pre-show, Billie Kay was there. She showed her resume to MVP, and of course, he was kind of like, "Yeah, I'll totally take this and never call you again." But you know what else could have worked? Because Billie Kay's there, right? I know she's a SmackDown star, but she's showing her resume to Adam Pearce, whatever. Again, he's like, "You know what? Asuka needs a challenger. I know you're from SmackDown. Go out there." Billie tries to be nice to Asuka. You know Asuka, she'll play along for a little bit.
Yeah.
Have fun, and then she takes her out and kills her. You know, not kills her, but, you know, then she kicks her ass. You could have had a little fun. Billie Kay can carry any segment, anything, and then you let Asuka wrestle, show how badass she is. Billie Kay's not going to get hurt by being beaten down in a match by Asuka. She's supposed to right now. That's her character. It's you know, that would have been something entertaining. You know, just off the top of my head, I was thinking about that. I was like, "Hey, get Billie Kay. She's always
and if you think losses hurt your career, then apparently you have never heard of R-Truth. Never. You've never heard of this man. If you think simply losing matches hurts your career, then R-Truth should not have. But instead, it's like, yes, when he loses, it's almost better. So.
I mean, you can argue R-Truth or Charlotte. Losses really don't hurt their careers, right? So.
Or Bray Wyatt for that
matter.
Yeah. I'm just kidding. You got something.
The first title change of the night happened to be Riddle winning the U.S. title. Tina called it the low point of the night because the worst night. Can't stand Riddle for love. She just can't stand.
I get that, but it also makes sense why later in the night too. So
initially when that happened, and it was thinking to myself, okay, maybe they're finally going to push Lashley into this thing. Didn't fully see it coming, but let's get into it. The WWE Championship match, the Elimination Chamber, as everyone was making their entrance, we're talking in the group chat, and I just put the message in there. I have a feeling Miz is going to cash in. I just had a thought. And, you know, sure enough, the chamber match was great. When what's his face, Asimo, whatever the heck his name is, that's helping AJ Styles, pulls the back of the freaking cage off, and I was like, oh man, shit's gonna get weird. So I feel like they could have used that a lot more. Like once his chamber actually did open, you could have thrown somebody out of the cage and fought into the Thunderdome for crying out loud. But you know, that's a lot of technology.
That's funny.
Guess. Yeah.
They've done it.
Yeah, they've done it, you know. But it eventually did come out to the people we picked to win, Drew McIntyre, AJ Styles.
Yeah,
Funny how that worked out.
It was very like nail biting at the. I was like, okay, who is going to be right on this?
Yeah. But Drew wins, and good for him. I mean, he was able to kind of cap off his title reign with the Chamber win, and then here comes the Miz. Well, before that, here comes Lashley, because McIntyre didn't look all screwed up, and then the funny part about it was like after the win, AJ kind of sold it a bit. And then as soon as the camera looked away, he tried to sneak out, but someone in the director chair hit the wrong camera, and they showed AJ just kind of sneaking away because great, something's going to happen. AJ snuck away. They're already bringing the cage up, and then here comes Lashley with the attack. So obviously Lashley gets the attack and then lays out McIntyre. And when you hear Miz's music and he runs down, I'm thinking, okay, it's going to happen. Tina's getting excited because she loves the Miz, and then I'm wondering, okay, what if Lashley attacks the Miz and he doesn't get to cash in?
Yeah, I was wondering about that too. Yeah.
But he lets him go. Got to wait for McIntyre to get to his feet. They teased a couple of moves there, like you said earlier, with Daniel Bryan, and Miz hits it, wins the title. Unfortunately, there's no angry Miz girl in the crowd that they could show, unless they could focus in on somebody on the screen with an angry face. But
in all fairness, apparently now, if she was there, she'd be cheering.
Yes,
she is a Miz fan
10
now.
years later,
so.
she's a huge Miz fan. And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that she got to meet him years
Yeah,
ago.
I'm about to say, I think it's kind of hard when she finally realized, like, oh, damn it, he's a nice guy in real life. Crap.
If there's ever any way to view how your fandom changes over 10 years, 10 years ago, she was the angriest person in the world that he won the title. 10 years later, she's probably his biggest cheerleader.
Well, see,
And
here's my other thing is like the standard WWE fans were mad he won, but like diehard fans, like when he said when he did the video of where had the Miz won, I was remember thinking to myself, actually, dude, most everyone I talked to is pretty happy you won. I really don't.
Yeah. I mentioned my wife Tina and how she thought Riddle's win was the low point. Miz's win was the high point of the show, and she's like, best pay-per-view ever, even though Riddle won a title. So.
To me, the Miz is almost like that guy. It's like he's convinced everyone hates him, and then until he hears like, actually, dude, we were all cheering for you the whole time, so we're actually pretty happy. Like, what? Really? Yeah, actually, congratulations. Like, legitimately.
He's the original MJF.
Yeah.
Actually, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but all the time.
I hope MJF hears that, because then he'll probably get pissed and tweet about it and say,
oh, boy. Well, that's a dream match, right? MJF versus The Miz, huh?
Yeah.
Telling each other the worst.
Now, a dream of mine, just based on this, because 10 years ago, when Miz headlined WrestleMania, that was one of the better main events. Him versus Cena. Him coming in as the big heel champion. Just the promo package before that match. I will always remember that.
Yeah, the promo package was amazing, but I feel like that main event has been considered around that time one of the not best, because no one felt Miz was ready for that at the time. Like, it was all right. I don't think it was great or horrible, but I think to a lot of WWE fans, it's not regarded as one of the bigger main events because they didn't feel Miz was ready, and then he was really just used to set up Rock and Cena.
Yeah, but I think what it did allow him to do was show just how good of a heel he was.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just that people hate him because he came from the real world, is that he hated him because he could be an asshole.
I think also in retrospect, like that Mania itself wasn't taken too highly, except for like Taker and Triple H.
Yeah.
So that had the I think. Okay, this is kind of funny as well because this ties into something else I remember I've been seeing a lot. I think it got better when people look back on it, like on as it stands alone, on like as the match by itself. And the reason I'm saying it's funny is because I'm seeing a lot of stuff online of people realizing John Cena was actually very good. So it's like I'm seeing a lot of comments on old John Cena matches and his promos, and people like probably for years were like, "Boo, I hate Cena." Looking back and like, you know what? He was actually pretty good. And I was like, yeah, that's why he carried the company for 10 years, guys. There was a reason for that.
Now, where do they go from here, though? Because I want Miz to hold the championship to WrestleMania. But now I'm not so sure. I mean,
unfortunately,
Edge,
I don't see it.
Yeah, after Roman's win, Edge comes out and spears Roman. basically says, I'm challenging WrestleMania because how do we know for sure? Because they put a pyro up. Hey, I thought you were trying to save money. And he pointed, and there's the pyro. Okay, cool. Edge has supernatural powers. He can point and declare pyro.
I don't know if this. I'm pretty sure, though, in American Sign Language, this means I challenge you to WrestleMania. I think that's the official sign.
Honestly, in American Sign Language, if it doesn't, it should now. like that should literally be like, just if two people are having an argument and they're signing the whole time, this should just mean like I'm challenging you at WrestleMania. So
you always see the diagram of what like different football referee things mean. Like this is false start, this is offsides. You need to have like a wrestling gesture, what that means. Like this is a pinfall. This is like a code of honor. This means I'm challenging you at WrestleMania. You have different things like that.
Actually, that would be hilarious.
Actually, this does mean code of honor and Ring of Honor because like that's what freaking Todd does every single time. Todd Sinclair does.
Yeah. This means open your hand. That sort of thing, right? So
this means you're going to WrestleMania.
Yeah, exactly. So with this big celebration, but Lashley coming in and interrupting that, saying he's the reason. What do you see the WWE Championship match being? First of all, at Fastlane, which will be the first pay-per-view on Peacock, and then at WrestleMania. How do you guys see this going?
If The Miz survives Bobby Lashley this coming Monday on Raw, which honestly I'm wondering about. I'm wondering if they ended that soon. I'm really curious. It could be like a triple threat between Miz and Lashley and Drew.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm very curious.
So I was kind of thinking about this the other night because we were in the group chat. I felt like y'all thought I didn't like. I thought that the Miz winning was a horrible idea. I respect the heck out of the Miz because, in all honesty, he has been the perfect WWE employee for almost his entire time there. He will do anything for them. He will go to every media appearance, all this stuff. He's always in character. Like, he's given everything to WWE.
And if you watch his reality shows, even the ones that are thrown on him, he will do it. Yeah.
My whole point and why, like, I was like, oh, he won the title. I wonder, if they're gonna go to Lashley or how they're gonna take it off of him, is because for the last couple of years with the when they brought on Lesnar, their main eventers have basically had to been booked as monsters or monster slayers, right? So Lesnar was a monster. Seth got it for a little bit as a monster slayer. Of course, Roman got it where he had, even as strong as Roman was, it took him a lot to beat Lesnar. And then this past year with McIntyre, he had to be built to this monster. And in his run, he will take 2 to 3 finishers from guys and kick out. Right, that's kind of the way you've been booking your main events and your champions. Miz, on the other hand, has been booked with Morrison as a comedy act for most of the time. He gets vicious every now and then. Every now and then, him and Morrison will beat up some mid-level guys and Otis or stuff like that. But they've never presented Miz in a threatening way to those level of competition. That's been my thing, and it happened again Monday. The entire time, Miz is looking to weasel out of a match with Lesnar, and I get it because he's a chicken shit heel. But he's never presented as a threat on any level, and you're just cutting the legs out from under him. I know we've always said he's not a good baby face, but I'd almost rather him do a kind of, you know what? I'm a man. You want this title? I'm gonna fight you, and if you kill me, that's fine. But because you're just making him look weak, and there's no reason to believe the way they're presenting him, you would want him in a main event at WrestleMania. That's kind of been the way I've seen it. So I respect the crap out of the Miz because he's a Hall of Famer. They said it, a 2-time Grand Slam champion.
Yes, that first ever.
Worked his butt off from a fan on the real world to a main event Hall of Fame wrestler. But they have not presented him like that. They have not booked him to look like any kind of actual threat. It's always been conniving, but not even in a Edge way or a Randy Orton way. He's slimy. He's
It's the Miz
opportunistic.
way. It's the Miz way. Yeah.
That's the reason I don't think he'll make it to WrestleMania. Like, they haven't presented him, and it would feel underwhelming the way he's presented for him to be at WrestleMania, unless there's some kind of twist to his character in the next couple weeks.
If he goes over Lashley, obviously I would think it would be Morrison's interference.
Oh, I would think it would be a Strowman after Monday. Like,
okay,
yeah.
Strowman or McIntyre, because McIntyre wasn't on last night. They kept him off the show, I assume, to kind of give his character some time to kind of
just to give him a break a bit, yeah.
He would bring him back. So if he does, I would see it would have to be from one of those guys again, because they're the monsters that can actually hurt Lashley. So,
but I think you need to have Miz in there somewhere, because if you give us Lashley versus McIntyre Mania, they don't necessarily have the charisma to do it. Miz kind of brings that, and it's kind of I mean, but I get they're monsters and that's great and all, but you got to sell it somehow. And unfortunately, since Lashley's gone back to WWE, they're not really letting him bring that out of himself. It's very stark difference from Bobby Lashley versus Drew Galloway versus Lashley versus Drew McIntyre.
But then, what's the difference between Lesnar and McIntyre than Lashley and McIntyre? I mean, yeah, Lesnar has Heyman. I'm sure MVP would take that role for Lashley. I think McIntyre. The problem with McIntyre is they're going to do they're trying to make him the good old face, like, oh, legends, I respect y'all. Y'all are so great. Oh, I'm a good fighting man. Like, they make him that boring face, and that's why people are saying he's getting stale. If he could use some of his old, like when he first got to WWE or back to WWE attitude as a face and kind of just be real vicious again, it'd be better. But you're right. Like,
you asked what's the difference versus a year ago, and now a year ago, McIntyre won the Rumble with the crowd in the audience. So it's a bit harder to sell when you don't have a live crowd. So, but yeah, I mean,
unless they're building up this thing between him and Sheamus to have the big feud at WrestleMania where they like to kind of rip each other apart. I
feel like that's coming at Fastlane, but I don't know.
Yeah, maybe if Sheamus is in there as like who gets the number one contender title shot at Mania or something like that.
Be.
Yeah. We'll see how it plays out. I mean, it's going to be an interesting road to Mania. Now we're going to get into our results. Mike went 2-3. Tommy, myself, and Tina all went 3-2. Yeah, it's been hard picking, right?
Yep.
And then now our WrestleCast ratings 0 to 5. 5 being WrestleMania 17, 0 being December to November. The last pay-per-view on the WWE Network, as it stands right now in the United States, was Chamber. Mike, how do they do? What's your rating on this show?
As we kind of talked about before, I'm going lower, not off the match quality, but on the booking and the lack of stuff that it had. I'm going to go 3.75. Like, they were good. Like, again, the first Chamber match, amazing, had fun with it, and then Daniel Bryan gets squashed within 2 minutes. So, to set up Edge and Roman, but again, it makes me feel like, then what was the whole point of this Chamber? They kicked each other, they beat each other up, they went through all that just to get squashed. And again, I know it puts heat on Roman, but there's that. We talked about the women, the tag team titles. The men's Chamber was great. Again, and I'm not even mad at Miz cashing in necessarily, like I said. Just suspect booking, though. I mean, I understand why Riddle won, but I mean, I guess John Morrison was an okay guy to put in there. They could have put anyone. And you did nothing with Asuka. We pretty much just talked about all the reasons why they fell short on their booking. So, 3.75.
All right. Tommy, what about you?
Yeah, a 4. Most of the matches were pretty good, but the booking really did hamper it down a lot. Which is, here's my thing. They had like 5 matches, which is essentially like an NXT show, and we have to give them a 4. NXT has 5 matches, and I gave Vengeance Day a 5. What does that tell you?
NXT is quality over quantity.
I just like, what? Why? why? It's to me, it's like, this is also why I don't like the gimmick pay-per-views anymore. I didn't like it when they started doing it with Hell in a Cell. Didn't like started doing TLC. Elimination Chamber is the only one to me that kind of made sense. But to me, it only made sense if it was the last stop before WrestleMania, because then that's your last chance to get in on the title match. But now we got Fastlane, or Roadblock, or Chuck Hole, or I-35 Construction. I don't know what the name of this pay-per-view is anymore.
WWE Detour.
Yeah, might as well call it that. I'm just like, I don't get this. It's like, and the Chamber, and I love I love Elimination Chamber matches, and that's like, pay-per-view should be better, but yeah. And besides, I listed on a reason, so yeah, it's a 4 from me.
WWE, slow down, construction ahead.
I'm along the same line. It is a 4 for me as well. Like I've said, as great as the opening Elimination Chamber match was, though, the result being afterward that it was just a kind of a squash cash in. Roman gets his win just so that we can get Edge to point, which disappointed me because we're not going to get Edge versus Balor.
Yeah.
Which would have been great. Edge going for a title he's never won or never been a part of NXT, but for him to try and take that, if you're trying to win a ratings battle with AEW, maybe you should let Edge challenge for the championship. Just saying.
That actually would, I think, make more people watch NXT over AEW because, honestly, who in AEW doesn't love Edge? Let's just be honest. Most of those guys love him too. So.
Yeah, exactly. I don't mind Riddle winning. I think that's good for him. It gets the title off of Lashley and in a clean way too, because Lashley doesn't necessarily get pinned for it. And now you get Lashley going into the main event picture, which people have been wanting him to get to all along ever since he came over. The women's tag team was really just a throwaway. Sad to say, you're just a time filler. And honestly, if Lacey Evans is never removed from the match with Asuka, that match probably never happens on the pay-per-view. Which means we don't see Sasha Banks, who holds a SmackDown Women's title, on the pay-per-view. So, but a 4 for me. The Miz cash-in kind of saved it from being lower. It was one of the more celebrated higher points of the show, really, regardless of if you love or hate him. So
I think I still would give it a 4, even with that, because it just kind of was, it was good. It was just like, to me, the show was still a 4. It was like eh. But the Miz winning was pretty great. There's nothing wrong with him.
I would have given it a 4 if Cesaro would have won the Chamber, but
I would think we would give it a 5.
I was gonna say, what am I saying? I would have
given if Cesaro would have won the Chamber and beat Roman, Mike would have given this a 6. Let's be honest.
Oh my God, I would have added double the.
He would have broke the WrestleCast rating like Meltzer. Let's be honest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Overall rating 3.9167. Not too shabby. Yeah. I think that's the first pay-per-view we've had it where it's below 4 for the year, for the overall so far for 2021. So
yeah, definitely, I would say so.
Yeah, but that's the Chamber. We'll see how they go. Now everyone's just anxiously waiting to get that email from WWE that says, "Hey, your account's been moved over to the Peacock Network."
Ring me the Office. Oh,
exactly. Mike's just waiting so he can watch The Office with his WWE Network subscription, if you will. So.
I heard you talk about that on the Geekcast.
Yes,
with the WandaVision intro.
This is Modern Family. Yeah,
I was like, hey, I like it too.
Now, before we get into our 1-minute warning, I just want to announce that we are going to do the first ever WrestleCast Spring Madness brackets. Stay tuned to us. But basically, what we're going to be doing this week is we're going to be putting together our list and what we think are the top 32 finishers in wrestling of all time. Now, this is singles finishers, not tag team finishers. This does include submission holds, though. And we're going to rank them. We're going to put together a bracket. And then you guys out there are going to decide on our Twitter account at CCG_WrestleCast through the series of Twitter polls and possibly on the Countdown City Geekcast Facebook page. We're going to be doing some polls, and you guys decide on the matchups. Who we eventually say is the greatest finisher of all time. This will include things like the Stone Cold Stunner, the Rock Bottom, When We Get Angel, Styles Clash. There's so many out there to choose from. Attitude Adjustment, Skull Crushing Finale. So there's a lot of stuff to decide. So
I don't care if someone puts the AA on there, but it's the FU. It's not the AA.
Yeah, it's always
called by original name, right?
So.
F5.
And hey, let's be honest. Let's just tell the truth. We all know it's going to win. Santino Morella's Cobra. Let's just be honest. It's the greatest finisher.
It's got a chance.
I know we kind of decided things beforehand, but I've got to throw a caveat in. Men and women?
Women included.
Cool, because I think we all know what former ACW star has one that could probably be pretty high up the list, who is now in NXT, a woman.
Definitely, yes. Well, are we calling it the lunar eclipse, or are we calling it the O-face?
I think we should be safe to call it lunar eclipse.
Okay, it's safe to call it that.
Oh, right, safe, yes.
Yes. So yes, those will be included as well. Ember Moon.
I don't understand. It's the face you make when you see it. You're like.
I mean, yeah, the first time I saw it was Juggalo James when he did it in ACW, and he's the one that taught it to Athena, now Ember Moon. So, yeah, that was the face I made. It was insane to see the first time. So, yep.
Hi, Tommy.
All right. So stay tuned for that. We will be posting that on our Twitter and on the Geekcast Facebook once we get all that together. And then get ready to vote, guys, because you guys are going to decide the best finisher of all time. So now we'll get into our segment we like to call the 1 minute warning. Mike, do you have something for us this week?
I do. And it kind of changed in the middle of this episode when one of y'all said something. No, okay. I mean it, but it's cool. Let's go.
All right. Ready, set, and go.
Okay. I was probably going to talk about Cesaro at first, but Tommy said something in the middle of the show that kind of made me think, and it kind of was in the back of my head while we were doing this. He said there's been a lot of times where the booking before WrestleMania sucked, but as long as we have good WrestleMania matches. And then he made me go, dang it. I think back to Becky Lynch's run up until WrestleMania. And we look back now and we say, first woman to win a main event at WrestleMania. But oh my God, do you remember how many things we said they bungled on the way there? And they backed into a big thing with her getting punched by Nia Jax. So we've said a lot of negative things about where we feel they've started. But I'm going to take a step back and take a breath. And I'm going to agree with Tommy. If you give us good WrestleMania matches, I will forgive whatever stupid crap I have to watch from then till now. It's the biggest show. It always has been. Just make it worth it this year. Both nights. Which was totally not an original idea, right, Tommy?
No, it wasn't. I'm dead serious. Wrestle Kingdom announced that months before
Tommy, no one disagrees with you. Why are you getting angry about it?
Yeah, I know.
I just.
Look, I think honestly, if the pandemic never happens, we don't get a 2-night WrestleMania last year. Let's just be honest here. Definitely. They took advantage of the situation.
Now, look, Tommy, if after WrestleMania WWE says they're starting the Super W Cup, then I'll be a little suspicious.
If they do a V1 climax, I'm be like, okay, you know what? I call BS. BS right here.
V1's an AEW. They can't do that.
No, they would go earlier in the alphabet. So since it's a G1, they call it the F1 climax. Yeah. That's what they would do.
The original tournament, the only one that matters.
Or the E, yeah, you got to get the F out on some level, right?
We can't have it be the G1. We have to be above them. It's the E1.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that 1 minute warning, Mike. I think I'm gonna, when I put it in the description, call it "Great Matches Forgive Dumb Booking." That'd be.
Wait.
Yeah.
It's
Credit
the
Tommy.
Climax. Yeah. Somehow Charlotte Flair still wins.
Well, 9 out of 10 ain't bad, right?
Yeah. All right, Tommy, you ready with yours?
Yeah.
All right, ready, set, and go.
So this is kind of it's part get well soon for Hiromu Takahashi and Anna Jay, who both have been injured recently, and they'll be out for at least 6 months. I think Anna Jay possibly a year. Hopefully won't be that long, but their health and well-being is what matters most. So hopefully they'll get well as soon as they safely can. The point I'm bringing this up is. This is where factions are good. Like Dark Order for Anna Jay, LIJ for Hiromu Takahashi. They may be, on the show for now, but you are not going to forget them. You're not going to forget they're around because their group is still there. This is where I still, preach for factions, preach for managers to be around because that helps, keep those wrestlers in the public's mind. There are some wrestlers who don't need them. This is true. Like whenever John Cena was injured or when Seth Rollins was injured, you don't need that all the time. But this is why factions are good. It helps keep the stories going and also keep the wrestlers fresh in people's minds. But, more important than all that, to both Anna Jay and Hiromu Takahashi, get well soon.
Tommy,
Very
you
cool.
also made something just pop into my head real quick.
What's up?
When you're talking about Dark Order, if they eventually do what seems like the slow long-term booking of Hangman joining and maybe kind of become the new de facto leader, I need a pay-per-view where Hangman leads them out on horses like a posse. And it's Hangman leading the Dark Order out on horses.
The
like
next
the Wild
Stadium
West.
Stampede.
Yeah,
The next Stadium Stampede.
that's what I need.
That sounds fantastic. And
Does
I'm
it not?
100%
And
I
to
need
be
that.
fair, whoever, if he comes into the group, he wouldn't be a leader. He'd be the regent because we all know Negative One is the leader in waiting.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So I mean,
Did you see?
He
Okay,
beat the
so
consigliere.
Yes.
so the best. So what I love about this, first of all, this kid's taking this training seriously. If you've watched the videos, like by the time he's 18, he's gonna have the knowledge of a 20-year vet.
Yeah.
And there will be, and like he'll be like the one kid who'll be world champion repeatedly, and no one will care anymore. It's like it's Negative One, who cares? And the other thing is that like when on Dynamite, when Hang was getting beat up, when he led the charge of waving Dark Order out, I was like, are we actually still doing this? Because I want us to still keep doing this. Please say we're still doing this.
So I mean, you said that, and now I just want to see years from now when he's won like 10 titles by the age of 20, and Charlotte's like, "Oh, sure, when he does it, it's."
Oh, sure, he can win 10 world championships. No one says a thing.
Oh gosh.
Then we can argue, well, Charlotte, to be honest, he's been training since he was literally 8 years old.
Mhm.
Honestly, he was number one contender by 14. It's just that he couldn't legally. I want him to be like 14 and be like you're still training and like Eddie kicks it as champion. Be like, in 4 more years, I'm gonna kick you.
Oh God, that would be tremendous.
You know what? Real quick before we end it, I still love how in the tribute show Eddie Kingston was respectful to Brody Lee and still was the best heel ever. He said, "Brody Lee, rest in peace, brother. But the Dark Order is nothing without you." I was like, how did he do that?
Mm-hmm.
He didn't even disrespect this man at all and was still the best heel of the night.
Yeah.
Why has this man not been on my TV more?
I don't know. MJF tweeting "F that kid" after a thing is pretty up there. You know what I mean? I'm just saying.
To be fair, the kendo stick shot was on point. So
Yeah. All right. God, it's tough to say this. Like, we kind of talked about earlier, and I was going to try and save it for this 1 minute warning, but I'm going to say it anyway again. The biggest thing overlooked about Miz's title win wasn't just the promos, wasn't just the fact that everyone's pissed off, wasn't the fact that there's a bunch of angry Miz girls out there, and guys probably, is the fact that he is a 2-time Grand Slam champion.
yeah.
Nobody in the history of World Wrestling Entertainment, World Wrestling Federation, hell, whatever it was called before that, before all the territories were bought up, no one in the history of that company has ever done that. And that's saying something for Miz to be the first. Shawn Michaels never did it. Bret Hart never did it. John Cena, for all his title wins, never did it. I don't even know if Charlotte is Grand Slam champion yet, is she?
She's won a Rumble.
Yes.
She's won. Yeah, I think so.
Has she won a Money in the Bank? Are we counting that?
No.
Well, I don't know.
I don't know.
But the fact that he's done it
Bayley did,
twice,
so.
yeah, the fact that he's done it twice pretty much solidifies his Hall of Fame career.
Oh yeah.
And a big congrats to him. And almost like on cue, there's a new promo for the next season of Miz and Mrs. and he's having a vasectomy party. Good stuff, man. That's but it would be very Miz-like for that family if he has it but doesn't wait 3 weeks you're required to wait, and they end up having a kid. Maybe he finally gets his boy. So congrats to Miz, 2-time Grand Slam champion, the first, and no one will ever take that away from you. Much deserved. Congratulations.
You know, I got to throw this in, JC.
Mhm.
I would be careful of Miz publicly saying that he's going to have a vasectomy, because that sounds like something Vince McMahon would work into a storyline. Vince McMahon.
He's not wrong. He's really not wrong.
You know, like
I mean,
oh,
yeah.
how about you do it live in a match like Val Venus and Kai and Tai, huh? Oh, that's not how that works. Ah, but it was good.
No, man, that's not how that works. Oh, I thought it was.
I don't know if I want to go from live sex celebrations to live vasectomies in the ring or something like that. So I'm just,
the first one was definitely better.
Yeah, definitely.
It had Lita, so you know what can you say?
Our Twitter account is at @CCG_WrestleCast. Subscribe here to the Countdown City Geeks YouTube channel. Pay attention to our Twitter because when we get the Spring Madness breakfast sometime this weekend, we're going to be doing the voting that way. And we'll see how this goes. You guys are going to decide the best finisher of all time. Next week, we are going to talk about AEW Revolution. Really big pay-per-view that's going to be a pretty bloody mess for what we're seeing.
Oh, so, yes.
Yes, it's going to be pretty high.
I like exploding barbed wire match. I was like, my first thought immediately was, okay, who let Junk Kasai into the booking room? Who just sitting? Who and even if he wasn't in the booking room, he's somewhere in Japan. Like, yes, my work continues. Yes, my children.
You know the best thing that I heard. So I don't know if y'all heard it. We didn't really mention in the news, but apparently Terry Funk a week or two ago. I don't know if he got sick or was just dealing with some pain or something, but they kind of mentioned like he was dealing with some stuff. Well, apparently last week he came out and some people were like, "Oh, he's doing better." And apparently in the midst of all that, he was like, "Oh, and I wish Moxley and Omega good luck in their barbed wire exploding match because I know about those and hope they do it right and give." I was like, only Terry Funk in the middle of all his pain and whatever is like, "Oh, did you say exploding barbed wire?" Match or whatever, like
I'm imagine Terry Funk and like laying in his bed, like, oh, so much pain. Who's having a barbed wire match?
Yeah, we don't see it on TV anymore. So I think he knows how special. Yeah, I think he knows how special this is because we don't see it on American TV anymore, let alone TV in general. So looking forward to that. And that's going to be a great way to celebrate my 40th birthday. Revolution is on my birthday. It's crazy. So
wow,
yeah.
Gonna have a revolution. Oh,
we'll talk all about that next week and looking forward to it. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thanks, guys, again, for being a part of this. Over here, we got Tommy.
Thanks, guys.
We got Mike.
Mike. Bye, guys. Be good to each other.
And I'm JC. And as always, heels and baby faces, remember, pro wrestling is real.
People are paid.
Hey yo, subscribe to the channel by clicking right here. Or, if you want to watch more videos, click right here!